So it is 3:03 and we're going to get started. So I wanted to, first of all, students, congratulate you on being here today. We invited you today because we think that you would be an awesome fit for the Posse Scholarship, which you'll learn all about today. What we wanted to do before we get started is just go into a few housekeeping items. I don't know if many of you may have been joining Zoom calls for the last couple of months, and many of you have not done this before. So we just wanted to share a few announcements. First, that this meeting is going to be recorded just so that it can be shared with students who are unable to be on the call. And so by signing into this meeting, you are agreeing that this will be recorded. Should your video be on, or if you ask any questions, you will be recorded. Another important note is if you have not yet changed your name, you can rename yourself. We please ask you to rename yourself with your high school name before. So for instance, if my name is Urtrell Harris, that's Miss Harris, Miss Urtrell Harris at Wheaton High School, I'm gonna add WHS, Wheaton High School, before my name, so that when we do breakout rooms at the end of the session, we're gonna break you out into your school-specific students and staff so you guys can connect. So if you haven't done that, I see several students still have not done that. If you're not sure how to do it, send a chat message and one of the staff members will respond to you on the chat and we can help you do that. The other thing is we will be answering questions at the end. So you can use the chat function at the bottom of the screen to send questions throughout the session. So please don't hesitate. Don't feel like you can't type your question out until the end because you may forget. And so if there are no questions, I'll give you a second to type any quick questions in. And if there are no questions, I will continue. Okay, so before we give you a little overview of Posse, I just wanted to share with you that there are students from Watkins Mill, Wheaton High School, Paint Branch, BCC, and Quince Orchard. I think I got all of them. So just be aware that there are a lot of students on here and there are a lot of staff members from CollegeTracks. So what is Posse? Some of you have heard about this, some of you haven't. We're gonna give you just a brief overview right now. Posse is an organization that essentially believes that a small and diverse group of talented students, which is essentially a posse, can develop one another and their communities by going to school together, so that you are stronger if you go to school, you go to college with a posse. And essentially, when you think of Posse, you can think of it as 9 friends who you will have spent 8 months, bonding with. And when you get to campus, when you get to a college campus, they'll have your back and they'll be able to support you and you'll be able to support them throughout the journey. So you prepare together and you go together. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch a short video produced by Posse, and this video essentially gives you an overview into the program and insight and students, like what they're seeking and, what students are seeking out and what they're seeking out in students.
I worry tremendously about our democracy. This is a very challenging time for the country, and those challenges are real, and yes, they do scare me.
The big problems we have to solve, climate change and the economy and disease and security, these aren't partisan problems. The strength of this country has always rested on its diversity.
To tackle these complex big problems, Posse looks for those young leaders who have the potential to contribute mightily to our society.
Thomas Jefferson argued that higher education had to be open to people with little financial resources to cut against the grain of groupthink. Diversity makes for a better education.
Posse is such a fabulous program.
And I have to tell you, when I think back to my own college experience, Posse would have made the world a difference for me.
As Steven Rodriguez, this son of a factory worker, just found out he's going to college this fall.
It's Posse for doing the impossible.
Posse started in 1989, and there was a student who had dropped out of college who said, I never would have dropped out if I had my posse with me.
We didn't send a man to the moon, we sent a team to the moon. When we're doing hard stuff for the first time, you don't ever send someone by themselves. You send a crew.
When the entire state of Vermont doesn't understand, it's okay because I have 9 other people who do. Some of the strongest, smartest people I've ever met. I'm just so grateful to have all of them. Yeah.
Shirley never liked to play with dolls, things like that. She always with books. When she was a little girl, she said, "Ma, I want to go to college." And I was crying. How I going to pay this kind of money? My husband driving a taxi, 7:30 to 9 o'clock at night.
I never even finished high school. I don't want my kid to go through what I went through myself.
She said, "Ma, I don't care. I have to go, even washing dishes."
Getting on that bus down to Vanderbilt has stayed with me for the rest of my life. Uncertainty, a lot of anxiety. You're questioning every moment your right to be there.
My high school graduation score was 78.3, a number I will never forget. It was below the standards of CCNY. I shouldn't have gotten in, but I got in. Somebody saw something in me. But I was the only kid on my block who went to college. So there was a loneliness in all of this.
You enter a culture that tells you what you lacked growing up, right? You didn't read Hemingway, right? You didn't play tennis.
The country often focuses on deficits, on at-risk, poor, minority, needy, underprivileged, underserved, fill in the blank. But Posse has historically focused on the strengths.
The students, oh my God, they're remarkable. They have gone through an incredibly challenging selection process, narrowed down several thousand students, 2 handfuls.
My dad, we had a conversation my senior year saying, you know, Mika, like, if you don't get a scholarship, I don't know if you could continue your education. No, Dad, like, you came here for me to have a better education, and I won't let this destroy our dream. The phone rang. They told me, like, how does it feel to be in the Middlebury Posse 3? And I just remember looking at my mom. We just cried in silence.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Miss Paula. I'm the program director at Quince Orchard High School. So a little bit more about what Posse is, aside from that beautiful video. There are 5 program components. So it is a full tuition, so 100% tuition scholarship. That's also leadership and a merit-based scholarship. So they're looking for students with strong leadership skills, as well as merit-based, so looking at students who are strong academically, as well as their extracurriculars. Second component is it is a pre-collegiate training. So once, if you are selected, you have 8 months of weekly workshops over the winter through the spring and summer to help you prepare to be a Posse scholar to succeed on college campus. So things like team building, cross-cultural communication, leadership, academic excellence.
Hey y'all, this is Mr. Marsden. I'm the program director at Paint Branch High School. Just to continue what Ms. Paula was saying, there's obviously a campus component to the Posse program. So 4 times a year, the Posse group is met by staff, like official Posse staff members. But I think probably the bigger component is the weekly meetings with your Posse and on-campus mentors. After that, there is a career program, or I guess alongside with that, that helps set students up for jobs, internships, any sort of career planning that's necessary. And number 5 is the alumni program, which really kind of continues that. So Posse is a full-blown program from, you know, right before you go to college until really long after you leave. I know that Ms. Courtney, who's going to speak in a little while and was a Posse alum, or is a Posse alum, can attest to how much Posse kind of remains in her life. So that's sort of the framework and the bookends of what the Posse program is.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how do I get into the Posse program? Well, there's a pretty rigorous selection process. Oh, I should say, my name is Miss Kate from Wheaton High School. Hi, Wheaton Knights. So the selection process is highly competitive. Only 50 Posse scholars are selected from the DC metro area. But good news, you've been invited to this webinar because we already think that you have what it takes to be in Posse. That's demonstrated leadership. You've shown you're committed to your education. You've shown you have an interest in teamwork. You have a positive outlook, you're motivated, and you're talented. So those are all things that Posse is looking for. It's a multi-step interview process, which begins now by you deciding that you would like to be nominated. You'll hear far more in detail about what's called the dynamic assessment process from Posse directly, but it does include both a group and individual interview. So for all of my introverts who are listening, who are saying, I do not want to build a tower out of spaghetti and marshmallows, I hear you, I feel you. You would have the opportunity to be able to talk with folks one-on-one as well. So they try to get a mix of people who might be more extroverted and introverted so that they build the best team. So they're looking for students who have demonstrated leadership ability, teamwork skills, again, motivation and a desire to succeed. And then ultimately, Posse staff and university partners will select a group of 10 diverse students for each of Posse DC's 5 partner colleges, which you'll hear about in a minute.
So you're going to hear a little bit about each DC partner college. If you are selected for Posse, you'll be going to one of these colleges, so it's extremely important that you are interested in one or more of these colleges that we will be talking about, and you can see them all here. So Bucknell, University of Rochester, Sewanee, Wisconsin, and Lafayette.
Okay, so first up, Bucknell, so not Bucknell, which is what Jimmy Fallon mispronounced. Bucknell University, located in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. I lived there myself for 2 years. It is smack dab in the middle of Pennsylvania, about 4 or 5 hours from DC, 2.5 to 3 hours from Philadelphia. And it does boast the only escalator in central Pennsylvania. Fun fact about that. The school itself is just under 4,000 students. So think about the size of your high school and how that might compare. They have pretty much any major you could think of, but most known for their School of Arts and Sciences, the School of Management, as well as the College of Engineering. Another fun fact is the founder of Home Depot actually graduated from Bucknell, so they are very connected to the business world. And they also have 7 residential colleges, which are theme-based living and learning environments specifically for first-year students. So they really do pay close attention to your transition to college at Bucknell.
My name is Nick Tatarian, and I graduated from Bucknell in January 2017. I was a psychology major and Spanish minor. I originally chose to go to Bucknell because it had the best academic program of all the universities I applied to, and they offered me a really great financial aid package. I had a lot of highlights at Bucknell, a lot of which were academic, but the best experiences and the ones I remember the most occurred outside the classroom. The best experience I had truly was being an RA. It gave me the opportunity to work with some amazing people who helped me grow and taught me some skills that I still use to this day. I also was a lead RA for 2 years, which was another opportunity to become a leader on campus. I also won the first year RA of the Year award. I was also a TA, which gave me another opportunity to grow and become a leader. not just practicing my own knowledge and skills I learned in classes, but also, helping teach students in physics, organic chemistry, statistics, and astronomy, ways to learn and just ways to improve as a student, as well as help them with the material. I think Bucknell offers a lot of great things to all students, and I couldn't recommend it enough as a university because you just build these connections with so many wonderful people, and they just grow and grow and grow even once you've left college. I still have really close friends, and my best friend, even though we're far apart now that we've graduated, we still are in touch almost every day. And some of the professors I had and just other professional staff members I worked with, we still frequently talk, and I know those are people I can rely on for the rest of my life. So going to Bucknell really helped build those connections that I don't know if I would have gotten at another school, and I don't know if I would have been challenged the same way that I was at Bucknell to become a better leader and just a better student in general. So like I said, Bucknell was a great experience, and I would highly recommend it if you have the opportunity to go, to take the opportunity, make the most of your 4 years there.
Great, thank you, Nick. Hi, everybody. This is Mrs. Olszewski. I'm the program director at BCC. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Lafayette College, which is in Easton, Maryland. It is actually I'm sorry, Eastern Pennsylvania. It's in the eastern part of the state of Pennsylvania. It's about 3 hours and a little bit more from Silver Spring. It's a little more than an hour to New York City. So if you can think of Maryland and in comparison to Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is huge. So it's up there in the corner, up by New York City. It's a little bit smaller than Bucknell. It's got 2,700 students. So if you can think about your high school and how that compares, a little bit bigger than BCC High School is. There's a great engineering program there at Lafayette, and it's kind of unusual in that there are about 20% of the students there are studying engineering, but it is basically a liberal arts college, so to have that combination is pretty amazing, especially for students who want to do engineering, but they have other interests. There's strength in a lot of their other programs as well. 33% of the students are studying some sort of social science, so there's a lot of people on their way to law school and graduate school of different types. And then a lot of students are studying pure sciences, more like bio or chem, and they're thinking about medicine someday. Our speaker is going to be Bemnet Niftalem. Her video is coming up. The BCC students who know Ebenezer, this is his older sister, Bemnet. I have to say her thoughts are not quite as cohesive as Nick, our speaker for Bucknell, but it's a fun video, so enjoy watching it.
This is Bemnet Niftalem. Went to Bethesda Chevy Chase High School. I'm looking at this because I'm looking at the questions, by the way. And I chose, well, I didn't really choose Lafayette. I went through the Posse scholarship process, and it was one of my top 3 choices, and they kind of chose it for me, so kind of chose me, I guess. That was really extra. Any information about the college in general? It's a small private institution. It's on top of a hill. It's in Eastern Pennsylvania. The aesthetics or whatever, the look of it is just, I just like the trees and all of that, that's why. Major is academics. Okay, so my major, it was bio at first, but it was in like bachelor's of science. I think that's what they call it. And then I changed it to neuroscience. And I think now I'm gonna go to bio, but make it in arts because just learn. That's basically what the college is supposed to do. Well, it's a liberal arts college. So like, you know, they have a lot of different, like they require you to take like all of these different classes within like different majors. Well, not majors. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it helps you like understand what you actually really want to do. Extracurricular activities, they have like a lot of different, any college has it, but I'm in the STEP team. Social life, that's up to the person, whoever the student is, because anywhere you go, you're gonna have a whatever kind of social life, but it just depends on who you pick as friends and who you actually vibe with. So I don't know how to get deep.
All right, so that was fun to hear a little bit more about the school. Next we have Sewanee. This is a school that is in Tennessee, which is probably around 10-hour drive from here. So it might sound insanely far, but for those of you who keep talking about how you want to go to the West Coast and go to California, this is definitely more accessible than being that far away. It's driving distance to Nashville and Atlanta. Those are, you know, big cities in the area. And in terms of size, it's a little bit smaller than some of the schools we've heard about previously. So it's 1,800 undergraduate students. So similar to maybe high school, the average class size is 10 to 19 students. So when you're in a class, you're not going to picture yourself in a lecture hall with 100 other students. What sets Sewanee apart, I think, from a lot of schools is that it's very focused on community. So the school is intentionally small. They intentionally have small class sizes because they want students and professors to really have one-on-one interaction. So if that's something you're looking for, this may be a school that you might want to do a little bit more research on. They want you to build a community with the campus and with the professors. So they have a porch light policy, which essentially means that the professors who live on campus, which some of you may not have known, some professors at colleges actually do live on campus. They're available to students to meet for coffee, have meetings, or just to support them in general. In terms of academics, there are 37 majors, 43 minors, 3 professional programs, in 5 major fields, including the health professions, engineering, law, business, and so on. And then for those of you interested in athletics, they are D3 athletics. I think football is the biggest sport on campus. They're the second largest campus in the country, so don't mistake that for number of students, but physically they're the second largest physical campus. And there are no commuters at Sewanee for intentional community building. So what that means is students can't live off campus and drive to Sewanee. They want everyone to live there so that students can really get a good sense of the life there. So now we are going to hear from a student, Owen Walsh, who graduated from Bethesda Chevy Chase High School.
Owen. I'm a rising sophomore at the University of the South in Sewanee, Tennessee. In the fall, I'll be declaring as a math major and a history minor, and I'm in the pre-law program. So I went to the Bethesda Chevy Chase High School. The reason why I chose to apply to Sewanee was because of just visiting the college. It was the most beautiful place I've ever been to, and it's 13,000 acres, which is the second largest campus in the United States, of Appalachian splendor. It's on top of a mountain, the Cumberland Plateau, and I mean, there are hiking trails, you know, caves, waterfalls abound, and if you're a nature lover, you're going to love the campus. Sewanee outing program is a big thing. Another big thing is Greek life, huge thing on campus. 80% of students are in a sorority or fraternity. If you're not into that kind of thing, you shouldn't be daunted because there are no doormen at any parties. Every party, everybody's allowed in. It's a totally inclusive campus and community. I promise you that. Academics, it's a small private liberal arts college, which means that you're going to have to be involved in the classroom. You're not going to be able to hide, and I think that's a good thing if you want to learn how to learn. Our English department is exceptional. It's really unique. We have the longest continuous publishing quarterly, the Sewanee Literary Review. We have a Sewanee Writers Conference every summer that draws in a lot of famous authors, and it's interesting that the English department is so big because the campus and the college is like it's out of a novel. It is a very literary college. Forestry, geology, physical sciences, biology are all strong departments. You know, all of the humanities departments are they're all fantastic. I think that if you want to take anything away from this, that from my little spiel, is that, you know, you're going to find a lot of colleges with great academics, but the big thing about Sewanee is that it is unique. It is its own place in time. It is its own place. You know, it's this little Gothic place on a mountain in the South, in the rural South, and going there is a very unique experience. It's just a very unique community. It's a very unique place to go. So if you want to go on that unique adventure, then look more into the campus, and I hope to see you on the campus in the fall. Hope to see the campus at all. Thank you. Hopefully talk to you later.
Wow, that was amazing. Very poetic, a little emotional. I'm getting choked up. And he uses more better vocabulary words than I do. I will move on to talking quickly about University of Rochester. This is the fourth of 5 schools that we are covering. I will not talk long because we have a Watkins Mill alum, Oswaldo, who's on the call, who currently attends Rochester. Just wanted to make a point to say that it is in Rochester, New York, which is a city in itself, but very far away from New York City. It is about a 7 or 8 hour drive from the DC DMV area, so it's pretty far up there. I will also quickly note that this is a slightly bigger school than the other schools we've covered so far. Wisconsin, which is the next one, is certainly bigger than Rochester, but Rochester is bigger than the previous 3 that we've seen. Maybe Oswaldo can talk to this, but Rochester provides clusters, meaning that students have a little more choice about what their academic curriculum looks like. They also have the McNair program, which a couple of Maryland schools have in addition, which helps students kind of on their way to PhD programs. So it's a lot of research prep and presentation practice and things like that. Feel free to digest the rest of the bullet points here, but I will let Oswaldo take it away.
Oswaldo, you're muted. You can start.
Oh, snap. Oh, all right. I'm sorry about that. All right. What I said was, my name is Oswaldo Byers Mendez. I am a rising senior, and I am the class of 2021, and I am majoring in mechanical engineering. And yeah, just to basically a little talk about being a Posse scholar at the University of Rochester. Some of the things that I've learned from Posse, or Posse has like kind of like Posse has helped me in, is the skills that I've learned during like the pre-collegiate training that happens before you go to college. So with that being said, I feel like with that, you gain all these like leadership skills that prepares you for like executive boards, for organizations in the campus. And some of the organizations that I'm a part of are the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers and the National Society of Black Engineers. And with those, those are really big opportunities at the school. I feel like the University of Rochester has like a really big emphasis on their engineering students. So there's a lot of opportunities that you could seek there, and which I have sought them. And they gave me the opportunity for myself to put myself in positions where I could get an internship, maybe a job later in the future, or just simply just making connections with alumni or just random people, I guess. It's pretty cool. It's really cold. But yeah, coming in with my Posse, I feel like Posse, like, they're just everything. They're like cool people, like people that you don't really know at first, and then they kind of like not necessarily force you to like meet the other students, but it's just a bond that you gain with them, and then they're just like your support system within the college, so they're always there for you. And then while you're at the college, you're just assigned a mentor, and that mentor will always be there for you if anything. I've actually sought out my mentor a couple of times. Like, that's my guy. Like, he's my go-to. Like, I email him really quickly, and then he's just right there, like, perfect. But yeah, I really like the school. Initially, I thought the school was closer to the city, which was like a big misconception that I had. I was like, oh, the city's right there. I'm about to be going to like explore and stuff. But then I figured out once I got there my first time, as a high school student, like, you get a tour. I visited the campus for a while, for 1 day. No, 3 days. No, 3 days, 2 nights. Yeah, and yeah, I figured out, like, damn, like, it's so far away, and that kind of brought me down. But after that, like, I knew Rochester, like, there's a lot of stuff you could do. There's like a mini city there, so it's very open, which I really like. And yeah, overall, I love the campus, like the engineering program. It's great. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Oswaldo. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this.
Yeah, no problem.
Oswaldo is my former student. He joined the Success Program, so thanks so much, O, for showing up and talking about your experience at U of Rochester. So my name is Miss Courtney. As Mr. Marsden referred to me as, I'm alum of Wisconsin. I'm also a Posse alum as well, and I'm going to be the new program director at Watkins Mill. So Wisconsin, woo! It's about a 15-hour drive from here if you go straight and don't stay overnight anywhere. It is in Madison, Wisconsin, which is the capital city. So I did take the bus to class sometimes, which is, you know, some students like at Maryland, for example, walk to class, but we actually took the city bus to some of the classes. It's a large institution, Research One institution. They have a big emphasis on undergraduate research on campus. So if that's something you're interested in getting involved in, working with professors, if you're interested in grad school even, Wisconsin's a great place for that. Has over 40,000 undergraduate students. There's 200 majors and certificates. When I was at Wisconsin, I got a BA in sociology, and I had an education policy certificate. Certificate is basically like a minor, right? And they have a lot of different programs, academic programs available. It's definitely a sports school, Division I sports. It says here it's #1 college football town in 2015, but they're big on hockey, they're big on basketball. We always make it to the Sweet 16 at least. We're talking about like March Madness and all that good stuff. Let's see what else. Yeah, so like I already talked about, it's in the city. It's not like DC, I'll say that, but it is a city. There's museums, the Capitol building is there. You can go and have different types of restaurants that you can eat at. So I really liked it because I wanted that big college town feel, and that's exactly what Wisconsin has to offer. Kind of like the University of Rochester, it's very cold, very cold. You're gonna have, if you end up going to Wisconsin, you're gonna need a huge coat. That's something I had invested when I got there. But yeah, so it is really far from the Maryland area, Washington, D.C. area. So you do kind of have to be more independent. Some people do get homesick, but just that's something you have to know if you ended up applying for Posse and making and listing this as one of your top 3 choices. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit more about my own Posse experience and also offer you all some advice as well. Okay, so these are 2 of my pictures. I'm gonna get fake emotional here. This is my group. The picture on the left, if you can see, is my Posse when we were second-year students at Wisconsin. And this picture on the right is when we graduated. And so the person in the middle, you can see like the taller guy, he has the orange shirt in the left, that's the mentor we were talking about. And so I think Oswaldo actually mentioned like, you get a mentor when you get there and they kind of stick with you all 4 years. So this person was the mentor for all 11 of us. I had 11 people in my Posse. Let's see, I went to high school in Arlington, Virginia, and I ended up choosing this as my very top choice. And thankfully I was able, to be part of that Posse. I chose Wisconsin because, like I said, I wanted that large state school experience. And I wanted a school with a lot of pride. I wanted a school that people are like really proud to go there. They had a lot of strong academic programs. They have a lot of folks that are like Rhodes Scholars there, all that good stuff. And I actually wanted to become a pharmacist at the time, and they have a really strong pharmacy program as well. So I looked into location, I looked into school spirit, I looked into the academics, and how much it was going to cost, because again, Posse is a full tuition scholarship, and you have to pay room and board on your own, but that's why you're also applying out for scholarships as well. I just had a really strong experience, a really great experience there with my Posse. Like I had a lot of commonalities with people there. At Wisconsin, there's 4 different cities. So like I came from DC, but there was also folks there from Chicago, LA, and New York too. So it was a huge Posse school here. This is the only school that has 4 different feeder cities there. My Posse was interesting. We always joke that we're kind of like a group of like misfits. They just threw us together. We had to make it work. Either you sink or swim, right? But we really had each other's back. We could rely on each other for academic support, emotional support. Like we needed each other when we left Washington, D.C. to go all the way to Wisconsin. And to this day, some of these folks are my closest friends. Yeah, there's like 4 of the people in the picture you see on like are my closest friends to this day. I'm very active in the alumni community. I go to alumni conference every year in New York City. I help coach Posse Scholars now as a resume coach. So it's definitely kind of once you're in it, you're in it. It's like a lifetime commitment if you want it to be. There's a thing that we talk about called Posse Love. And I could walk up to a Posse Scholar from any city. And if we know that we're Posse because we have a hat or a sweater, it's always Posse Love. So that's what I like to share about my experience there. I do want to tell you about some advice. When thinking about Posse, it really has to be something that's mutual or symbiotic, right? Like going to this thing, I want to challenge you all to think about what it is that Posse can offer you and what you can offer Posse, right? It's kind of like people talk about an interview. You're interviewing them just like they're interviewing you. So what Posse offered me, you all can read through this list, but like I keep talking about, it was a strong community, had a lot of support. There was a lot of opportunities for leadership through Posse and on campus. Let's see, I had a caring, capable mentor all 4 years, a great relationship with him. He actually helped me get into University of Maryland College Park. He wrote one of my letters of recommendation when I went through grad school, connected me with some of the professors there, because he was a PhD student at Wisconsin himself. It really felt like a home away from home, but I had to make it that for myself. I think I'd say by my 2nd and 3rd year, it really felt that way. It allowed me to gain some confidence, right? And recognition. once you get on campus, people know who the Posse Scholars are. It's like its own brand. And like I said, lifelong friends as well. What I offered Posse, you know, not to brag or anything, but these are some of the things that I came up with, right? They're looking for someone who can think critically, right? Someone who's smart, and that's demonstrated in a lot of ways. It's not just GPA, right? Looking for someone who could be a leader, who can make some differences and change on campus as well. It's funny because I think that when they're constructing a Posse, there's a different role. Ms. Kate was saying, like, you don't have to be an extrovert to become a Posse scholar, because you can't have a group of 10 extroverts, right? It has to stick together, and I really felt like I was the glue of my Posse. I think that's why I was chosen, because I have this like personality where I kind of get along with everyone, and I kind of help keep the Posse together. And so I think it's really important, if you could go to the next slide, to be yourself. Like that, if I had to offer you all some advice, I would say be authentic, right? You have to know who you are and then present that, right? And then either they choose to be yourself. Buy-in is really critical and important. If you are going to try to get this scholarship because you can leave debt-free, that's not a good enough reason for them, and they can often see that when someone's just there for the money. So I would say, like, really do your research on what Posse can offer on the whole network of Posse, right? And that's the pre-collegiate training. That's when you are on campus. That's after you graduate. Like, really do your research. Practice telling your story. That's also going to be really critical. And this is my advice for choosing whether you're going to continue after today with the idea of Posse and talking to your program directors about that. My advice also for when you are going through pre-collegiate training, and then also my advice when you're on campus. So practice telling your story. You want it to be honest, compelling, and complete. Don't try to do this alone. We have a lot of folks on here willing to support you. The CollegeTracks staff, you have your high school staff, your families, the folks who are nominating you. And lastly, I'll just say, like, make sure that this is something that you want, right? But at the same time, if you're not selected or if you decide not to do this, there's so many other scholarships out there for you. You just have to make sure you're doing the work to apply to them.
Thank you, Miss C. And I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm the current program director at Watkins Mill. So those of you at Watkins Mill who just joined, that is Miss C, who will be replacing me. So get to know her. She's awesome. So now is the time that we are going to take some questions. So I know some of you have sent questions either privately or through the main group chat about Posse specifically. We are happy to answer questions non-Posse related if you end up chatting or chatting them on here, but preferably any questions related to Posse, about the schools. I know some of you might be shy. Usually there's like an awkward silence for like 2 minutes because no one wants to ask a question, and then once one person asks, everyone wants to talk. So I'm going to give you that awkward silence right now to think about your questions. Oh, and to ask a question, you can unmute yourself and speak if you're able to, or you can just send it in the
I have a question.
Yeah, can you share your name and the high school you're from?
My name is Roberta Bukovi and I'm from Paint Branch.
Awesome, go ahead.
Okay, so my question is, I just wanted a little bit more information on the process. Like, I heard that there was multi-steps interview, and I just wanted to know like how those go and like which comes first and which comes after, like things like that. So
Sure. Ms. Olszewski, I know you're going to be covering next steps a little bit after, so I don't want to overlap what you're going to say. But essentially, did you want to take this so that I don't overlap you?
Yeah, well, I think maybe the student is interested in the actual Posse dynamic assessment process. What I'm going to talk is more about the interim process and getting information from us, and then kind of deciding if you want to go forward with Posse. Maybe Courtney would be a great one to go over the dynamic assessment process. I think that's the question.
Yeah, I don't mind. So it's a 3-step process. The Posse scholarship is really competitive, but we're going to make sure that you're prepared to submit a strong application. Basically, you're nominated and you get to go to the first interview. First interview, there might be 100 or so students in the room. It's a very large group interview with folks walking around with a notepad taking notes, and it's very interactive, right? They kind of want to see what your group dynamics are like, and at the end, there's an essay component. So if you're not able to shine during that group dynamic part for some reason, you can actually write your own story in the essay component. If you make it to the first interview, make it through the first interview, the second interview is more traditional. There's usually 2 interviewers with you, and they're asking you, general questions as to why you chose the schools that you chose for your top 3, why you want Posse, what are your interests, tell us about your leadership experience, that kind of thing. The last interview, if you make it from the second round, you become a semi-finalist, and that is when there's only 25 students. There's 25 students, and the admission boards from the different universities are in there with you in a room, and they're asking you questions. And so that's the final interview. You go from 25 to 10 students.
And what we don't want for you guys to do is to hear all of this and think, oh my God, this is too much. I can't do this. We're literally like every step of the way with you in the process. And what I hear from students who go through the first interview process, which is the big group Miss C was talking about, 100 students, they come back and they say that was the funnest thing I've ever done. Like, oh my God, I met so many people. I got their IG handles. I got their Snapchat. So it's a fun process. It's not meant to be like a brutal interview process, and we will walk you through it. So if you're sitting there on the other side of the screen right now saying, nope, not for me, just keep an open mind. Any other questions? So someone asked from Paint Branch, is your Posse cohort specifically 9 to 11 teens from the DC area who are attending the same partner college, or the entire group of 50 DC area Posse scholars? So your Posse is the 9 to 11 teens that are going to attend your same college. I am not sure, maybe Ms. C knows more about, what you end up doing with those 50 DC Posse scholars?
Yeah, so the Posses are generally 10 people. It might be more or less depending. The only times you really interact with the folks from the other Posses, other 4 schools, is during PCT. So you might see them in the hallway or in the room, but most of the time you're interacting with just your group. We also have large Posse things where everyone is there. During the summer they have Posse Olympics, right, which is like a field day, and everyone's there. So you might see folks that you did PCT with. It's kind of like a little mini reunion, but for the most part, it's just those people, just those 10.
Okay, so if there are no more questions that are posted, what do you do next about this with all of this information? So we're recording this if you want to, or we could send you the slides if you think you want to review some of it or show your families. But you need to think this over, think about these schools, what you've heard about them. You want to kind of let it settle in a little bit, give yourself a pat on the back that you're even in this meeting, because that means we believe you could do it. And then, sleep on it a little bit, but you need to then come back to us and tell us if you think you would like to be considered one of the nominees by CollegeTracks. Think about what you've heard about the experience and what the program itself offers. It's getting ready to go to college. It's support while you're in college. It's amazing professional support after you graduate. Posse can give a lot to you. And think if that's something that you would like to have something be continuous like that over the years. Also think about what could you bring as a student? What are your qualities? What are your aspirations? What are your dreams? What are your characteristics that might be different from the average teenager? And so what would you bring that would be beneficial to the other students in a Posse? We believe in you. You got to believe in you too. Then the next step will be, after we're finished with this, we're going to divide you into groups by school, so you'll be with your own program director. So all of us will tell you kind of how the next steps go at our schools, because there is a little variation from school to school. But if you have questions for us after we're finished today, get in touch with us. We're happy to talk to you as much as we can to support you. It's not quite the same because you can't walk into school and see us, but we are happy to answer questions by texting you or whatever. One great way to educate yourself is to now go to the websites and research the schools. The college admissions offices have done a lot more in the last couple months to make even more broad and deep information available via their virtual tours, their blogs. They all have student ambassadors now that you can talk to because they know people can't go visit campuses. So there's a lot that you can do to learn about the schools and see where you think you might fit in. You should know that each of the high schools that has CollegeTracks is able to nominate 5 candidates for the Posse process. So again, your program directors will be talking to you about that. And if after all this thought and interaction and questioning and answering that we can do for you, if you think, hey, this just isn't right for me, don't worry about that. Feel open and be able to tell us that. We're not going to judge you. We're going to support you in what it is that you think you want to do. But we want you to, take it seriously. It's a fantastic opportunity. I think it's been said more than once. This is tuition and fees, and that's the bulk of what any college is going to charge you. So it's a great deal of financial support. Look into it. And if you've really done your research and you say, it's not for me, we will accept that. Okay, so now we're going to go into breakout rooms by high school for your program directors to tell you more about the process and then how it is playing out at your school.